Hello everyone, my name is Abhishek and welcome back to my channel. Can AI replace DevOps? This is one of the common questions today. Of course, I shared my opinion on this topic. I recorded one or two videos on the channel. In the same way, other experts in this domain also shared their opinion. It can be on YouTube, it can be on LinkedIn or any other platforms. But still, this remains the constant question. So I decided to put an end to this question. This is what I did. Over the last 2 days, I listed down 20 to 30 popular DevOps tasks. Where did I get them from? Completely from my experience. I worked as a software engineer for 11 years, and during this 11 years, I came across various DevOps activities. I categorized them into three parts: beginner, intermediate, and advanced. And I started testing these categories with popular large language models that we have today. A point to remember: this test was not performed against a single large language model, but a lot of popular large language models that we have today. Of course, for simplicity, I'll not cover everything in today's video. It took me 12 to 13 hours to run this test. What I'm going to do, I'm going to show you some of my experiments in this video, and towards the end, I will share my opinion. Now, this opinion is not a theoretical opinion, but this is completely driven from my practical experiments. So what you see towards the end of this video, after watching some of my experiments, you will see a honest opinion from me. I would highly recommend you to watch the experiments, how they are carried, and finally, also watch my opinion on this topic. There are a lot of people who still have this question. So I request you to share this video with every DevOps aspirant that you know. Let's get started. Now you might have a question. Abhishek, how did you get access to various AI models? Let me answer that first. Basically, I have licenses. I have license of Windsurf, Cursor, Anti-Gravity. Even I use GitHub Copilot on day-to-day basis, augment code, and I can also run models locally on my machine. But to make it simple, because I cannot keep surfing across different IDs, what I did, I restricted myself to GitHub Copilot, where I can switch between the models. They also have access to Opus 4.6, which is released few days ago. And I also used the GitHub models for this experiment. Even with GitHub models, you can switch between different models and you can compare the output from different models. I think this is for free. You can try it with your GitHub account. I'm not really sure. Because I'm a GitHub star, I have access to these models, and also I have unlimited access with these LLM models. So I don't even run issues with respect to the tokens. Perfect. Okay, right now I'm working on a beginner level DevOps task. Let's see how different LLMs react to it. This is the task. Create a simple Hello World application, set up kind cluster, deploy the application to K8s using Argo CD, and finally set up progressive rollouts using Argo rollout. Typically, if a good DevOps engineer works on this activity, because it's a Hello World application, using documentation, they would not take more than 20 to 25 minutes. Let's see how much time LLMs take to it, and also let's see if they'll be able to generate the correct response. We are using Opus 4.6 to start with. Opus 4.6 is recently launched by Anthropic, and they call it the most powerful model out there. Let's start. So GitHub Copilot got the instruction. Using Opus 4.6, it started working on the task. Let's give it 2 minutes. It actually set up the project. So you can see the project to my left. Because I'm using the agent mode, I'm not executing any task manually. The tasks are done by agent themselves. So it set up the application, looks like a simple Go application. It preferred Go for some reason. It created the dependency file. It created the Docker file. One bad thing here is that it used the deprecated version of Golang. It has a lot of vulnerabilities for sure. It should have ideally used 1.24. I did not give any instructions to it. So this is one thing that it did wrong. Even though this application works, this would fail miserably when it comes to security practices. Now, on top of that, it created a folder called Argo CD. Good. It created application.yaml file, and basically it also created Argo rollouts application. I mean, instead of directly installing rollouts, what it did, it created an application for rollouts, and it is actually installing rollouts through Argo CD. Now, the approach is definitely good. In fact, this is an approach that a senior engineer would take. So when it comes to creating manifests, especially the application.yaml and application rollouts.yaml, the approach is good. And what it did, it created a huge shell script. Now, this is one, I wouldn't say drawback, but this is something that agent complicated. It created a very complex shell script. Anyways, if this is working fine, we are still good with it. So now let's see by executing these things. Till now, I looked at the manifest files. One thing in Docker file, it used the deprecated version. It created deployment manifest and service manifest as well. So let's go ahead and ask the agent to proceed with the next step. That is, execute this on my kind cluster. So it said the kind cluster config is created. Ideally, I asked it to create the kind cluster. Let me see it. I mean, you can see here, it did not create the kind cluster. Strange, it did not perform the activity completely. Anyways, let's move to the next step. We will ask it to verify the kind and see if it does not exist. I'll ask it to create the kind cluster. I asked it to verify, it found out that the kind cluster does not exist, which is fine. But if you see here, it already found a small issue with the Docker file. So it says it does not support app version, but I'm using app version. And it auto-corrected the Docker file while it was trying to create the kind cluster. Now I asked it to create the cluster as well. Plus points to Opus. It figured out my operating system. It installed the kind cluster. And now it wants to deploy the Docker file. I mean, it wants to deploy the Kubernetes manifest. But before that, it wants to create the Docker image. Let's also provide permissions to it. Till now, we are in the very early stages. It hasn't even created the Docker image. Okay, it deployed the Docker manifest, but it did a terrible mistake here. It created the Docker image. It actually loaded the Docker image to kind, which is good. But when it installed Argo CD, you can see here there is issue with CRD installation, but it did not report the issue here to us. Basically, I'm monitoring the actions of agent using my terminal. On the terminal, I can clearly see there is an issue with the CRD installation. Because I work with Argo CD for a lot of time, I know what is the issue. It actually tried to install the application sets. It did not use server-side installation. It went to the basic installation and installation failed. It did not report the issue and it is proceeding with the next steps. But anyways, let's give it the permissions. Oh, okay. So it ran into an error. It says, I can see a broken service. So basically it tried to deploy the application. We have Argo CD, we have Argo rollouts on the cluster running now, but it can see a broken service once the deployment of application is done by Argo CD. And it says, let me try to fix that for you. Okay, let's grant it the permissions again. While it is trying to fix it, let me show you another important issue. Warning, even endpoints is deprecated. Because I'm seeing the terminal and the process parallelly, I can see again it deployed a deprecated version. One, it used the deprecation version in the Docker file. Now it used the deprecated version even in the Kubernetes endpoints. Now this is also another issue, right? Your organization cannot keep using outdated versions. After few runs, so I fast forwarded the video here. After few runs, you can see it figured out the issue. It tried to implement canary model of deployment using Argo CD and Argo rollouts. During the canary model, it ran into issues with the pod labels and selector mismatch. Ideally, in Kubernetes, labels and selectors is an easy concept, but when you set up something like canary model of deployment, you play with these labels. And somewhere the agent that we are using with 4.6 Opus has failed with the labels and selectors. It said it fixed the issue. I, granted it the permissions. It said the issue is fixed, but when it ran the curl statement, you can see it is broken. It is trying 5 attempts because it failed in one single attempt the previous time. Uh, Probably again with canary model of deployment with Argo rollouts is it messed up more than the labels and selectors. So it is trying to fix it, but the curl requests keep failing. We can see that output in the terminal as well. So here clearly it is returning exit code 7 when it is trying to connect to the service that is set up, right? This time it is going with a different approach. Again, I fast forwarded the video. It failed for two to three more times. And this time here, it is trying port forward. That approach failed. Actually, the funny thing here is that in the meanwhile, I looked at the manifest and I already know what the issue. So this is what I was talking about. If you go to the Argo rollouts documentation, the example is already available and it was straightforward. But agent tried to do more than what I asked. And here it failed with the initial service implementation. Now it is trying with the port forward. Again, I'll grant it the permissions. Intentionally, I'm not telling it what is the issue. Okay, now it is clearly wasting my time. It is again trying with 5 reattempts. It did not change a lot. I mean, it did not change the implementation a lot. So I just told it what is the issue, but again it failed. I'm asking it again, fix the issue that I just explained. So this is my second attempt after explaining it the issue. It says, oh, I can clearly see what is the issue. There are 3 problems. I messed up with the selector. I messed up with the target port. I messed up with the protocol. I used UDP. I actually told it only 2 things, but it says I figured out 3 different things. Anyways, let's see if it succeeds this time. It says the issue is fixed. It is actually trying to perform the curl. Curl failed. Again, instead of fixing the issue, it created a test pod. I don't understand why it took that approach. It created a test curl pod. It deleted the pod. Again, it created the pod. Now it is saying, check what operating system is in the container to find the available tools. Now this is vague because it created the container. It should actually have the context and it should know what operating system it is. So it is clearly wasting our time. Anyways, it says all 3 issues are fixed now. I figured out the operating system as well. And these are the issues that I fixed. And it says, okay, now everything is within the healthy state. I'll ask it, prove that canary model is working. Basically, it should run 5 to 10 curl requests and it should show me every time, or at least it gets few requests from the first service and few requests from the other service. It created a furlough. It ran the kubectl exec command. It says 10 out of 10 requests are successful, but if you see here, everything is coming from service 1. Service 1, service 1, service 1, service 1. So the canary model of deployment is clearly not successful. That's why I asked it, what exactly did you do? And it, instead of explaining me, maybe my prompt could have been better. But look at the strange thing here. It says 10 requests from inside the cluster, everything is from V1 and it is successful. Not really, right? It has to be from V1 and V2. Somehow it is thinking if request comes from V1, everything is successful. Okay, we got the culprit here. C. So this is a huge mistake. It said the canary model of deployment is successful. It said rollout is also successful, but now fix the canary model of deployment with rollouts and show the requests are from V1 and V2. I asked it to do it and see what it says. It says the standard deployment is running, but the rollouts resource is not working yet. I have to redeploy and I have to fix issues with the rollout. Now it is again going ahead with the CRD installation. It is again deploying the rollouts to see if everything works fine. Now, this is not good, but anyways, let's give it another chance. Okay, after 3 failed attempts, again, we are trying it. I don't know why it wrote such a big shell script. All that it has to do is just run a curl command to like it just has to set up an ingress and run the curl command, but not really sure why it wrote this entire shell script just to verify that rollouts is working fine. Previously, it did not do it, but now in the fourth attempt, somehow it came up with a different shell script and it is saying I'm going to verify rollouts now. The rollout already progressed. The stable pods are scaled down. Let me run the current pods and send the request. So it is saying now your request is complete. Again on the terminal, I see the issue. Request 1 error, request 2 error, request 3 error, 4 error, 5 error. So basically, it could not set up Argo rollouts again, but it claims the task is done. Now this is going to an endless loop. Again, it is creating the rollouts for us. Now it is saying, okay, with this shell script and with the implementation, we should have the V1 version and gradually it should roll out to V2. But I don't see any difference in the implementation. So I'm deciding to tell it what is the exact issue and I'm going to ask it to fix the issue for us. Okay, there you go. This time I can see the V1 version of the pods are created and it actually promoted to V2 as well. So this time the implementation is successful. Okay, finally, I'm happy. The task is done, but it took 55 minutes for me with Claude Opus 4.6. As I told you, if it's a good DevOps engineer, I told you this even before trying it, that a good DevOps engineer would take 25 minutes to do this. Even you can try. If you're already into DevOps, go to Argo CD documentation, go to rollouts documentation. They are basic examples. All that you need is a kind Kubernetes cluster and you can do it. Now, even within this 55 minutes, it took some of my help. It created deprecated manifests. So overall, I would not rate it 10 by 10, even though the task is complete, because there are some security issues. Imagine if I am completely new to DevOps and if would have trusted Opus 4.6, it would have taken more time because I gave it some hints. I tried to correct it. Otherwise, it might have even taken 1.5 hours. Not sure. Now I'll ask it to tear down the entire setup and we will switch the model. And this time we will try with Sonnet 4.5, another powerful model. Tear down the complete project, delete the manifest, just keep the Kubernetes cluster, delete only resources within the Kubernetes cluster. Teardown is complete. You can see there are no manifests as well. Now we will switch to Sonnet 4.5 and we will technically ask it the same thing, right? Create client cluster, create Hello World application, install Argo CD in it, deploy the application, set up rollouts and implement Canary progressive deployment. You might think, but Abhishek, last time you did not say Canary. By default, it would pick up Canary model of deployment. Let it do the job for us. It is working on the steps. In the meanwhile, I will go to Grok 3, right? Another powerful model. And let's also try the same thing with Grok 3 so that, we can do few things parallelly. Somehow, Sonnet 4.5 is taking way more time when we compare this with Opus 4.6. Maybe this is why Anthropic says that Opus 4.6 is 2.5 times faster. I can actually see it. It is still in install Argo CD. I'm waiting from last 4 to 5 minutes. On the other side, Grok 3 actually completed the task. Of course, we should give Sonnet 4.5 some space because this is actually implementing the task on my machine, whereas Grok 3 here is only sharing the steps. One thing that I found out with Grok 3, although it completed the task, it has lot of outdated information. It is using old version of Nginx. On top of that, it could not complete the rollout manifest as well. I can clearly see here the set wait configuration in the rollout.yaml is incomplete. Even if I take these steps and run the execution, they will fail. or canary model of deployment will not be complete. So Grok 3, definitely no, but Sonnet 4.5 is still in execution. Let's see if Sonnet 4.5 at least can complete the task for us. Already an issue here. It failed to install the Argo CD in the right way. So it says I'll go ahead and try to fix the Argo CD issue. I said go ahead, let's see. Even this time, we failed with the CRD issue. So the same issue we saw when we were using Opus 4.6, the same issue here again. Thing is that if we use application sets, this would have become a blocker because the application CRD itself could not be installed. For the last 2 to 3 attempts, it says the canary is set up. I clearly see that it's not set up. So I went ahead and said, okay, let's assume it is set up. Just run the curl command and see if the canary is set up correctly. Use the curl command with the for loop. So I'm just trying to prove it that the installation and setup is not right because it's very evident. There you go. It says, oh yeah, I clearly understand the issue now. Let me delete the manifest and let me try to recreate the manifest. I'm pretty sure it's going to fail again, but I'll give it a chance. So I'll just say continue. There you go, fourth attempt. It says perfect. Everything is looking good. All 10 requests. I'm creating a script for the 10 requests. Canary service is good. But if you see, every request is still going to one. So it is saying the task is complete, but on the other side, when I look at the terminal, every single request is going to V1. If the progression is complete, the request should be V1. I mean, the promotion in Argo rollouts is complete. The request here should be to V2, not V1. Let's say the promotion is still in progress. I mean, canary is still in progress. We should see some request to V1 and some request to V2. So even after multiple tries, there is no luck. This is the fourth or fifth attempt. So I decided to give up. Either I tell Sonnet what is the issue or I fix it manually, which is of no use. My intention is not that for today's video. I will go ahead and say this task is complete because I don't want to continue with it. So what we noticed, Opus 4.6 was still better because after 3 to 4 iterations, when we slightly gave it a hint, it completed the task. Grok 3, a big no for me. It was using a lot of deprecated versions, including simple things like Nginx. So no. And when it comes to Sonnet 4.6, Sonnet 4.5, it couldn't complete the task. Maybe if we give it 2 to 3 hints, it might complete it. But for now, this is my fifth iteration, so I decided to give up. Okay, I'm trying a different task now. So this is roughly 13th or 14th task I'm trying with LLMs. And this time, this is beginner or intermediate level task. Uh, Actually, I could call it between beginner and intermediate because when it comes to networking, even a lot of DevOps engineers find networking topics difficult. And what I'm going to pick is a proxy setup. So I'm going to ask Copilot. We will try with a different model. Maybe let's go with GPT-5 mini and ask it, set up a HTTP proxy on my machine. I'll complicate the task, but the initial setup is very straightforward. Set up a HTTP proxy on this machine. Let's see how GPT-5 mini performs this task. Prompt is straightforward. Set up HTTP proxy on my machine. Step 1 failed. So it said I installed a lightweight proxy, proxy.py, which is something that I definitely did not like. I wanted to see it using something like Squid or maybe popular proxies, but it went with a very simple lightweight HTTP proxy. You can say my prompt could have been better. So, okay, I'll give it some points. Maybe my prompt is wrong. But still, it created a Python proxy file and you can see here, when it tried to execute the proxy, it failed on my machine because it it should ideally create a virtual machine. Only then it should try to run a Python script, which it failed. Let's give it another chance. Let's say, benefit of doubt, it failed to identify the operating system. Another failure, you can see here, it tried to run the proxy plugin. So this time it fixed the issue with the virtual environment, but it tried to run the proxy that it set up, and it failed. But it is saying there is some issue. I'll try to fix it. Let's give it another chance. Although I will continue this task even if it tries to fix it, because I don't like the proxy.py implementation. I'll go ahead and ask it to use something like Squid. There is a slight issue here. It gave me a set of steps and it is asking me to complete those steps. After spending so much time, uh, as I told you, this is not the first task that I'm doing. I've been spending a lot of time today. So I said, okay, I don't want to do it. Go ahead and fix everything. Let's see what it does. Um, uh, so it is asking me, can I go ahead and run this huge shell script? I'm not really sure why. If if there is some issue with the port or something, it could just kill the process or take a new port. I already told it, if you want a new port, go ahead and use it. Still, it is running a huge shell script. Not really sure. Finally, it fixed the issue, and it also showed us with the curl request that proxy is working fine. As I told you, now I'll ask it, use Squid instead, which is a very popular forward proxy, and set it up with HTTPS. There you go. Now we are actually doing the task. Oh God, I ran into the classic hallucination issue. So you can see here clearly, the Squid configuration file. The Squid configuration is failing. It printed the Squid configuration on my terminal. I can see HTTPS setup is not complete even with the self-send certificates, but it is saying the task is complete. And I asked it to prove me, verify that HTTPS forward proxy is working fine. So to prove me, it is running the commands. Okay, let's see. Let it run the commands. Now this is the fourth time. So you can see here 1, 2, 3. Yeah. So this is the third time. Sorry, my bad. Not fourth time. Third time. It could not prove that HTTPS is set up, and it is again and again asking to run the script. And it is saying that this time I'll prove you that HTTPS is working fine. Let's give it one final chance. It finally agreed the failure. You can see here. So it said the possible causes for the failure: Squid failed to start. So basically, it would need more time because it pointed out several possible steps of failure, and it is saying, if you want, I can go through each and every step and I can verify the possible failure. So it implemented HTTP proxy, the basic HTTP proxy, so we can give it the points. But when I asked it to move forward and do it using Squid and set up HTTPS, it failed. Not only GPT-5 mini, uh, I also tried it with other popular models, but let us try this time with Opus 4.6, because Opus 4.6, we know this is the most powerful model till date. They recently created a C compiler also with this. Let's see if it can perform the operational data when it comes to forward proxy with HTTPS. So I will give Opus 4.6 chance now. Create HTTP proxy with Squid and prove the output using curl. I will also try the Microsoft Pi model, which is the powerful reasoning model from Microsoft Pi. I'll just tell it the same thing: create steps to install squid.io and set up HTTPS. Let's see what the Microsoft powerful model can do for us. Pi is a relatively smaller model, but it is known for its reasoning capabilities, especially Pi 4. And they say that although this is a small model, it is very, very capable. So let's see it's if it is really worth, and if we can rely on Pi 4 reasoning in our real-time DevOps tasks as well. Surprisingly, at least when I look at the output that is generated by Pi model, um, interestingly, I'm actually very happy with it because it generated self-send certificates. It also gave me an option to generate certificates using Let's Encrypt, and the steps looks fairly simple because I have set up Squid on my machine multiple times before. I can tell you this is 95% right, if not 100% correct. Personally, I feel this is 100% right as well. But because I'm not executing these steps manually on my local machine, so I'll just go by, whatever I understand about Squid installation, HTTPS installation, this looks good to me. So full points to Microsoft Pi for reasoning model when it comes to the HTTPS forward proxy installation. Anyways, going back, our Opus 4.6 is still work in progress. I think it has almost come to a point to say that the task is complete. We will give it 2 more minutes. I noticed something very, very strange here. So the task is in progress. I am yet to verify if everything is fine or not, but I noticed something very, very strange. I wanted to show you this. So you can see here, it created 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So parallelly, the agent, that is the Copilot agent, it opened 5 terminals on my machine. Usually you might not see this. Maybe you might not focus on this. But because I want to check the output parallel, I can see that it opened 5 terminals parallelly, and I don't know what it is trying to execute in 5 different terminals. This is a very simple task, and it says here the output is complete, and I can see 200. But I cannot trust it. What I'll do is I will take my own terminal and I will try to run the same curl command that it is sharing and see if HTTP proxy is working fine. Fair enough. It worked fine. So I use the curl command. I can see here it proxied through the proxy that it set up. So yeah, but it was using HTTP proxy. So look at the output carefully. I asked it to demonstrate HTTPS, but it demonstrated HTTP only. So the task is complete, but the task is not complete with HTTPS. Let me verify with HTTPS also. No. So with HTTPS, there is absolutely no luck. So with HTTP, the request was fine. I think that's why it gave us the HTTP request first. It was able to verify the task is complete for it. But with HTTPS, I thought so because the Squid configuration for HTTPS, it should have created the right self-signed certificates. It should have also used, if not self-signed, it should have used the Let's Encrypt certificates. Going through the history, the log that it generated, I could not clearly see the Let's Encrypt or HTTPS certificates rightly generated. So as expected, the HTTP configuration is fine, but HTTPS setup is not fine. Networking tasks are tricky. I totally understand. Even though this task looks small, I would rate this as intermediate level task. And I found the Microsoft Pi model interestingly good. This is a very small model. Maybe because I used the reasoning model, it thought about the task very thoroughly and it came up with the output. That might be the reason. Anyways, Microsoft Pi 4 here is the clear winner. Now that was cool, right? As I told you, I carried this experiment for 12 to 13 hours over the last 2 days. And the results were actually very, very surprising. When it comes to super beginner level activities, for example, deploying an application or creating a Docker file, large language models were exceptional. The fact is that they have a lot of data, and most of these tools are actually reliable. Whether it comes to Docker, Kubernetes, there is a lot of community for this. Their documentation is also good. So large language models were able to give the exact answers, if not for the first time, but with 2 to 3 iterations. But when it comes to beginner, intermediate, and advanced, especially intermediate and advanced, large language models unfortunately did not do better. Now, this can be for your good or this can be for your bad. You can decide that. But especially when it comes to operational activities, for example, cloud operations, Kubernetes cluster management, site going down, proxy, network related activities, the large language models were not reliable. It's definitely not rocket science. If you have some time, like at least if you have 10 hours, you can list down some activities and you can try it with large language models that are available. You can try GitHub models as I've tried in this video, or you can even use free tools like GitHub Copilot and perform this test. I hope you found today's video insightful. Please share this video with DevOps aspirants so that they get the answer to the question, can AI replace DevOps in the near future? Thank you so much for watching today's video. See you all in the next one. Take care.